Now joined by Matt Miller of Bleacher Report. Matt, thank you so much for joining us here on NewYorkJets.com.
If you're the Jets at 11, you have to trust your board, and that's what Joe Douglas is going to do. There's no doubt about that. Do you have those four tackles really close together? Because there is a need for the Jets. I always tell Greens, yes, you go best player available, but need breaks the tie. And also, where do you see the drop-off where you say, well, maybe, I want to protect Sam Darnold, but I got to give him a playmaker too, and I love one of these receivers.
I do think that, with the Jets, I have those tackles ranked very closely together. I have Jedrick Wills first, Tristan Wirfs second, Mekhi Becton third, and then Andrew Thomas fourth. And not far behind them, I have Josh Jones from Houston and Austin Jackson from USC. So I do expect 6 tackles to be drafted in the first round this year. With the Jets, I feel like at 11, they're in a really good position to not have to use those 2 second-round picks to trade up and get a tackle. The best thing for the New York Jets would be for quarterbacks to go early. Yep. You want 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10s because that's going to push more good offensive tackles down to where you guys are drafting at 11. So I think, again, they're in a good spot where I don't feel like this is a year where we're going to see another defender in the first round, even though there's some good players out there at edge rusher and at corner. If one of the tackles isn't there, if you don't like the tackles, that just means more receivers are available. And in most mock drafts that I do right now, all the receivers are still on the board at 11 because we're not expecting, the Cardinals trade for Nuke Hopkins. They don't need a receiver anymore. We're not expecting the Carolina Panthers to take one. We're not really expecting the Jacksonville Jaguars to take one. So the Jets end up in a position where you might be looking at the second best offensive tackle and the best wide receiver, which that's where it comes down to what you were talking about, EA. It's the best player at a position of need. And in my opinion, and I believe Joe Douglas feels this way too, a left tackle is a lot more important than a wide receiver, and they're a lot harder to find. The best offensive tackles in the NFL right now were first-round picks. So it's really a position where you have to spend that premium pick. At wide receiver, we've all called this a historic receiver class. There's going to be good players to be had in the 40s when the Jets come back on the clock.
Well, to your point right there, who do you like at 48 when the Jets are back on the clock?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Denzel Mims from Baylor. He's incredibly raw, but he's athletic as heck, and he's big and he can run. So I like Denzel Mims. I still really like Michael Pittman from USC. So just get that Trojan connection going with Sam Darnold. I watched this guy. It was the night before the Wisconsin-Michigan game. I was in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm at a bar with my guys from Stick to Football, and I'm watching Michael Pittman destroy Utah. And that Utah defense is going to have like 8 players drafted, and Pittman's just going off. And he's not the fastest guy, but in some ways reminds me of Michael Thomas with how physical he is in his route running, that he creates separation just by being physical and by being precise with his route. So I'm a fan of Michael Pittman. If he's there at 48, I would be jumping all over that because I do think, we're going to see a tier of receivers where it's Michael Pittman and then some smaller guys like a Jalen Reagor from TCU, KJ Hamler from Penn State, who I had the Jets taking in my latest mock draft. The receivers that we expect to be there in round 2, there's not a lot of big physical players, and Pittman would give Sam Darnold someone that is going to box out. He's going to be physical, on breaking routes, on slants. He's going to post up in the red zone, and we've seen him have production against NFL caliber corners. Not just that Utah game, a lot of what he did in the Pac-12 over the last 2 years.
Matt, before we let you go, just real quick, the Jets have 11, 48, 68, and 79. In Matt Miller's ideal scenario, how does that board fall out for the Jets' first 4 picks?
Yeah, ideal at 11, you're getting Jedrick Wills because he is my top tackle. I believe he would be that left tackle to protect Sam Darnold for the next 10 years. I think in the second round with those 2 picks, ideally, you're getting a receiver like a Michael Pittman, someone who can be your X receiver. He could be your number 1 guy, your go-to. I place a big emphasis on edge rusher in this defense, a little bit over corner even. So I would be looking at edge rusher, someone like Jarrell Taylor from Tennessee that has quickness, can stand up and rush off the edge, can put his hand in the dirt, but is really going to win with that first step ability. And then I would look at corner with that, I believe pick 79, that 4th pick, where you could get someone like a Cameron Dancer from Mississippi State, who I don't believe he gave up a touchdown in the last 3 years in the SEC, and definitely has the size to hold up on the edge.
Matt, thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe out there.
Likewise, you guys stay safe, and good luck with this draft.